So I would never do that, but I would do all the things that lead to that, or I would not do all the things that would stop that. And on a scientific level, judgment is difficult to isolate. And here's what I mean. If you disagree with something that is happening, and you believe in any kind of a higher power or deity, then you must logically believe that the deity made a mistake. And many do. So they first judge so-and-so for doing this, and then they judge God for not stopping that. You fucking coward. Why didn't you protect that little girl? Why didn't you do this? Now, okay, so why didn't God protect that little girl? Why didn't God do this? If God is all-powerful, if God is all-knowing, then he knew about it and could have stopped it. But the fucking dickhead, right? You know, it's hard to find slurs, isn't it? A dickhead. So what's a dickhead? It's the most pleasurable part of the male body is what it is. Let's just go back to attacking the source, right? Source of all life, the joy of being, the excitement of growing, the most pleasurable part on a male body, the dick head. It's not the dick shaft, it's the head. So let's call you a dickhead, right? How do you get by with these things with a straight face? First, you're a bitch. Most female dogs far more intelligent in terms of the amount of pleasure and joy they have in life than the average human being. Great compliment. Call them a bitch, call them a dogma, call them a shit. You're just coming back to the source of all life and beauty again and again and again. But you fucking dickhead. Now that's beautiful, isn't it? A fucking dickhead. I mean, now you've got the most pleasurable part of the male body doing the thing that arouses it and gives the most pleasure. And we've managed to turn that into a slur as well. A fucking dickhead. It's like we should all be so lucky as to be a fucking dickhead. But having decided that God is a fucking dickhead, in other words, paid him a great compliment, and given him the most pleasurable moment of a lifetime, we then proceed to elevate and say we are better, we are superior to God. We've decided as good chauvinists, of course, that God is male. Most of the global religions would agree on this point. So God is definitely a male. Why? Why is God a male? Well, men are better than women. And God is the highest of the high. So, of course, he's a male. So, of course, Buddha, Christ, Allah, you name it, Shiva, they're males, right? The Indians get it a little wrong. They have Lakshmi and, there's little Mother Mary. But, they're not, Mother Mary is not all powerful, all knowing, all doing. Forget that. Mother Mary is timid and placating and meek and does what she's told, like a good chauvinist housewife. Not like Kali or anything. No. Mother Mary. Of course, she's a virgin because Dad's out having sex with his teenage daughter's girlfriend. Not Mother Mary, the mother. It's like, fuck those teenagers, and hope that nobody finds out. Because. And so, anyway, this horrible thing is absolute horrible. You fucking dad, God, why did you do this? So God's to blame because, God could have intervened but didn't. Well, there's another person that might have been able to intervene that didn't, and that's us, right? And this is why it's difficult to dissociate from a situation. Feels absolutely horrible. 6-year-old was raped. In order for a 6-year-old to be raped, a human has to be operating out of the reptilian brain. In order for a human to operate out of the reptilian brain, of fight, flight, freeze without empathy, the human has to be traumatized. In order for the human to be traumatized, other humans have to A, traumatize them, and B, not repair the trauma, and 3, say, go get on with your life. Now, who's doing that? Who's traumatizing children and then not repairing the trauma and then telling the children to not feel it, to stop crying, to grow up and get on with their life? Well, most of us are. Who's watching a 6-year-old being shamed into an anesthetic numbness in the grocery store by his mother and saying, I'm not getting involved there? We are. When's the last time you went up to a mother and said, don't talk to your son like that, you're shaming him with your chauvinistic bullshit? And when's the last time you took them to court and did this and stopped this and protest this? And when's the last time you were out placarding about this? So you didn't do enough to stop another generation being shamed. You didn't do enough. And God didn't do enough, so he's a piece of shit, i.e. the source of all life. But you didn't do enough either. You see, it's very hard to say, you know, that fucking bitch, let's judge the dogs again, because if a female dog would not be shaming their offspring in a supermarket. That's left to human beings. So let's not keep dogs out of this. But we don't have an education system that teaches a single formal hour of competent parenting in our cult. But wonderful parents are just going to pop out of nowhere without any formal training, without any competency, without any... We don't have a single formal hour of emotional literacy. So did you write to your congressperson and say, you know what? I was raised by dysfunctional, emotionally illiterate parents. I went to teachers and schools that shamed the children because they didn't have emotional literacy. I went to college and learned that the more emotional I was, the more I was teased or humiliated. And then I went to work and I learned that feelings are personal and should be kept at home and are not professional. In other words, I've learned that my feelings are not welcome at home, in school, in college, or at the workplace. So I've learned to banish my feminine side in a chauvinistic cult. But I haven't actually learned a single hour of emotional literacy. And I'm fine with that. So I've done nothing to protest the alternative. And so you're saying there's an emotionally illiterate, abusive mother over there who grew up in an emotionally illiterate and abusive cult, abusing her emotionally illiterate and abused child again. And I'm not going to do anything about it other than to judge her, separate from her. I would never do that. Why wouldn't you? And if you were born as an abused child into an emotionally illiterate cult with abused parents, why wouldn't you be abused? And why would you learn? Well, you're supposed to do that. Where? Where was she going to get the textbook to actually learn what parenting looked like in a healthy human being that was emotionally illiterate when she's surrounded by chauvinistic, emotionally illiterate morons? Where is she going to learn that? And you're better than her? Because why? Because you're more sophisticated in the shame that you dish out, or you would never do it in a supermarket? You would just send your child to your room and banish loneliness to let them know that crying is not welcome? Or you just tell them to banish their dreams? So what makes you better than this woman? In most cases, it's intergenerational, which means that you didn't stop her being abused when she was young. Are you stopping the next generation? So if she's a piece of shit, i.e. the source of all human life and all life on the planet, if she's the source of all life on the planet, what are you going to do about it? And what are you not going to do it? Okay, so this is the thing. I don't know what to do about it. So let's blame God. Why? Anesthetize the pain. Blaming God has never worked. Blaming the woman has never worked. Blaming ourselves has never worked. But if we do not know how to respond, anesthetizing the pain of helplessness may be a superior choice to just feeling helpless and doing absolutely nothing. And this is the kind of the state that we're in. We don't know how to heal a lot of this pain. It's too much to deal with. We're using tons of anesthetics, addictions, compulsions, numbing and diversion devices, blame, superiority, inferiority, dissociation, tuning out, vegging out, eating out. And the pain, of course, continues, and so we use more, and that's where the addiction comes in. You need more and more painkiller because the pain just keeps getting louder and louder. And we don't really know how to respond, and nor does other people. And so the real thing is, if God was fucked up, or God is fucked up, and we are creations of God, then we're likely to be fucked up. Because a fucked up God doesn't create perfect mirror images of themselves. And God created humans, men, good chauvinist. God created man in his image. And then, of course, man put a rib out. Kind of ruins the biology, etc., because the mother has to be there to give birth to the first guy. So, but they just bypassed the biological truth by saying, well, God made Adam out of a piece of clay. At least we're being honest, because clay is dirt. And whoever did create the universe created dirt, and then all life came out of dirt. Even the life that insults dirt as being dirty, as somehow innate. This is the absurdity. It's not like dirt is bad because of this, and this, and so we're going to use it as a symbol of everything bad. Even bad is a symbol of that's created by human beings with language, and so we've got this dynamic going on where if we judge God and we're a creation of God in God's image, then we're judging ourselves. If we're judging, we've already know that genetically we're 99% monkeys. If you look at the genetics of a monkey or whatever, we're 99% monkeys. And so if monkeys are bad or inferior and we're 99% that, doesn't speak well of us. And so what we're really doing is we're talking about everything. When we say, I'm superior, God's a piece of shit, i.e. the source of all life, this abusive person is a piece of shit, i.e. another source of all life, and I am not a source of all life. I'm not a piece of shit. I am a superior commentator, an educated, cultured, dogmatic person who is superior, including the fact that I'm so superior, I would never say that I'm superior. We just know, because it's not tasteful to make you all feel inferior to my superiority. So, I'm so superior I will not mention, but let's just be very clear without saying it, because that's, of course, how to be very clear, how to make sure not to say what you mean. That's more sophisticated than just saying what you mean, which is, I'm better than you because of this and this and this. And I don't want to deal with the debate that would, of course, come up. I'm better than you because of this, this, and this. That tends to lead to a debate. Well, I don't want any of my dogma, sorry, dogs, I don't want any of my dogma to be attacked or questioned because it's so flaky. You know, I pretend I'm a distinct person. I have nothing to do with my family. Hello? It's a very shaky supposition. Men are more valuable than women. Hello? Where were you born from? Can you exist without a woman? So how exactly are you more valuable than your creator? It's tough. You know, it's like, it's a tough equation. You know, all cults live in tremendous fragility because they are based on a profound level of chronic, sustained stupidity that is self-referential in nature. It does not look at data. And bullies children into signing up to the lecture, the dogma, before they have a chance to think and develop their own minds. And so how can you say that you're better than that which created you? Are you better than God? Are you better than dirt? Are you better than your body? Are you better than your cult? Are you better than your parents? Are you better than the neighbors that share 99% of your genetics? And in many ways, because superiority and inferiority, you know, if you're a piece of root and you've been shamed, you know, you've had some haughty heiresses, you know, get that dirt out of here. So you heard the comment, it's like, I didn't know I was so abhorrent. You like my flowers that I grow, but apparently I'm a horrible, unspeakably disgusting part of life. So, you know, I've taken it on. I'm inferior. It's ignorant. It is ignorant to talk about inferiority or superiority in an ecological evolving framework where you don't get flowers without dirt. You don't get fortunes in a capitalist pyramid without poor people. You know, if you look at the connection, you know, whether it's a Rockefeller or Carnegie or a Ford or whatever, you don't get billionaires just popping out of nothing. You need to have, everyone cannot be a billionaire. I mean, with inflation eventually, but there needs, in a hierarchical pyramidal framework, there's always the most people at the bottom of the pyramid. And so to say that you're better than the people that made you, it doesn't make any sense. To say that the pinnacle of the steeple is better than the foundation doesn't make any sense. It's dogma, sorry dogs. It's stupidity. How are you better than that which you emerge out of? How is the future better than the past if the future cannot exist without the past? You know, first we got in the liquor business, then we got in the mafia, then we turned into real estate, then we built this, and now we're spotless, right? Now we're all politically correct, and we're all rich, and our spotless, non-dirty, all of our cars are washed pristine. So now we're spotless, right? The spotless family, the Kennedys, everything's wonderful, and you know, we don't have feelings, and we do everything, and we get invited to the right parties. And now we're against organized crime, right? Yeah, but that's evolution, you know. It's like now we've moved into the industrial, now we're in, you know, we don't pollute as much, and you know, those countries going into the industrial developmental cycle, they're dirty and they're ugly. How can you condemn step 2 of your own process? Because if you say that being 2 years old is just terrible, let's just cut out the 2-year-old. Forget it. Once you get to 15, I'm interested. 2 years old, boring. 3-year-old, boring. Well, how exactly do you get a 15-year-old without a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old? If you want all the praise or the investment stage of retirement, how do you get there without a lot of hard work to earn the initial capital? If I want lots of money, how do I get there without doing the things that create lots of money? If I want sophistication and a sense of ease and grace, how do I get to ease and grace without a lot of practice to where now I can pick up and just play a song without thinking because I put in 10,000 hours? I want the flower without the dirt. I want the male without the female that gave birth to him. I want the God without the goddess. I want the order without the chaos. I want the light without the dark. In effect, I want to live in an insane, moronic world that is cut in half in an illusion that doesn't hold up, and subsequently leads to half of the world being elevated and half of it being sublimated, and trying to be part of the good half and not the bad half, and heaping punishment and pain on the bad half that supports and gives rise to the good half. It's a difficult equation, and it's why we have cults and we have science. A scientist cannot produce a cult or sustain the rationality of their own cult very deeply, because so much of every cult in human history has diverged wildly from the data to protect the status quo out of a fear of the unknown, out of a fear of chaos, out of a fear of being out of control, out of a fear of the feminine. And somewhere in that unknown, out of control chaos is a pain that is too big for me to face, that I don't ever want to feel again, is a trauma. And my commitment to avoiding that trauma, that pain, leads to a condemnation of the feminine, leads to a condemnation of chaos, a condemnation of spontaneity, which could lead to chaos, a condemnation of feelings, which could lead to pain, a condemnation to the unknown, which could lead to chaos, to pain, to trauma. And eventually, the protection of my little controlled dogma that I use to perpetuate my superiority and my inferiority, so that I don't know how to have to feel a pain I don't know how to deal with. And so there's a place for inferiority, superiority, judgment, righteousness in anesthetics. It is the place of numbing a pain we lack the competency to heal. Having anesthetized ourselves so numb that we can feel very little, so numb that the anesthetics threaten to kill us, as all toxins do at some point, we are struggling with whether or not we can keep piling on more Novocaine without killing ourselves. Or if not, since the pain is so loud, how can we respond to that pain? How can we heal the many gaps, the many separations from our feelings and our feelings, from ourself and the other, from the masculine and the feminine, from men and women, from the old and the young, from the rich and the poor? How can we heal the many faces of the wound, the severing, the illusion of the cut, that pretends that we are all alone in a world that doesn't understand, when we are at the epicenter of a pattern of ecological life of which we are a part.